Well, that was a good bit of fun all round. We've never done that before and we wanted to try it. But I think that will be a new tradition every Easter. But it is getting very hot, as you can probably tell by my sweaty forehead. So I think it's time to get us and these hot dogs in for a drink. Well, welcome back everybody. Hope you've had a lovely Easter if you celebrate Easter. We've had a week off.
Well, not quite a week off.
Well, a week off of YouTube. We've had a week off making videos because, as you probably know, we just do this in our spare time and we've been a bit busy this week. We've still been doing stuff, but in the little time we have had at this time of year in spring, grass, trees, everything is going crazy and growing at an obscene rate. So we've just been doing lots of land maintenance, whether it's trimming, continuing to trim the trees up, trying to dispose of what's been cut off.
That's the big job.
Yeah, we're still not completely there. There's still a lot more to do, but we're getting there.
We are desperate to continue fencing the entire property, but our delivery of materials actually was delayed because of Easter. Hopefully though, today we're going to have that delivery come and we can crack on. But in the meantime, we actually have a small problem to fix on our veg garden.
So we are trimming up some of these bigger, thicker olive branches that we have to try and recycle them, put them to some good use. We need to make some type of shade cover for the vegetable garden because some of our vegetables are really struggling with this very hot Portuguese spring that we're having.
The main culprits that are struggling with the heat are the radish, the beetroot and the lettuce. They are cooler crops, so they're the ones that really need the shade. On a positive note though, the peas and the mange too are thriving. The only concern we have is that they're not going to survive because both Ricky and I, turns out we love pea shoots. Can't get enough of it. Square to this line. So like, we'd have it here and here.
Okay.
It's just going to sort of fall down, so we just want to make sure there's enough.
Figured out how to do your knot?
I think so. That is a successful knot despite what it looks like.
I'm glad it's Victoria tying these knots because these look extremely complicated and I never got my knots badge at Cubs when I was a little boy.
Look, it's worked. I'm shocked. I'm going to try and make this one a little bit neater than the first. That looks a bit better, a little bit neater.
You'll make a mighty fine sailor.
Okay, so a slight change of plan. We're actually going to move two of those posts because the way the shade netting was coming down, it's actually not going to provide that much shade. So rethinking it, and Ricky's just walloping those back in, hopefully into a better position.
Well, it's not the prettiest job in the world, but we've kind of done it so it's got more shade on the west side because that afternoon sun here gets so incredibly hot. So that should give it some real good protection in the afternoon. And then the other side, a little bit more open so it can still get some sun in the morning. But I think maybe we might have to have a bit of a rethink on this and do it again at another time because it doesn't look very good. minutes might be our go.
Yeah.
Hola, bom dia. Sim, sou eu. Sim. Ok, quanto tempo? Ok, ótimo. 20 minutos. Ok, até já, tchau. 20 minutes, delivery's coming. Get in. If I'm being honest, not very proud of this. This is possibly one of the worst looking projects I think I've ever been involved in. Yeah, not really much else to say. It's functional, it creates shade, but I think this is going to be something we're going to redo another day. Thoughts?
Do you think it would look any better if I stuck a pole in the middle? Or is it just beyond redemption?
I think you just have to accept it is what it is and we'll sort it again another day.
Oh, this is such poor workmanship. But like you say, hopefully functional and it serves a purpose, at least for now.
If it saved our lettuce, then it served its purpose. So that'll be the key indicator for me. If the lettuce survives, then this vegetable shanty town that we've built will have done its job.
On a positive note, we do have quite a few little strawberries coming and there are 2 whole berries ready to eat. So Ricky, would you like one?
Definitely.
Do you want the first ceremonial strawberry?
Thank you.
It's so sour.
It tastes more like a raspberry.
This is tart. It's got a nice flavour, but it is very tart. I don't think mine tastes like a raspberry. It's a very, very sour strawberry. We were so pleased that our delivery had finally arrived, and the following day we were able to get the fencing project truly underway. A big challenge of this project is the size of our property, as we're on nearly 3 acres. Due to the lay of the land, we have to receive our deliveries at one end of the property, but we're starting the fencing at the opposite end of the property. That means that we have to carry tools, posts, fencing, everything from one end to the other, which is definitely keeping us fit. A tractor or a trailer cannot come soon enough.
Come on, chop chop.
Definitely getting the 10,000 steps in today.
I came down to the olive grove early this morning to trim this area because in parts it was still really overgrown. I hadn't got to this yet and we just really want a nice clean working space to be in. We've still got the big pile of mulched brambles as well as all the vines that we cleared the other week because the last week or 10 days the weather has been insanely hot for this time of year, you know, high 20s. We've not been able to burn anything, but today the weather has turned and we've got a lovely overcast, cool day, which is awesome for us because we are going to be out here working all day long and getting hot and sweaty is neither of our idea of fun. Hopefully this is going to make life much easier and make this job much quicker, so here goes nothing. So, my first time using an auger machine. I'm pretty sure auger is how you say it now, correct me if I'm wrong. That was actually a bit more lethal than I thought it was going to be. In my head it was just going to be rest it on the ground, press the button, la 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 la, go down, dirt out, job done. It's pretty violent, like it really does have a lot of kickback and catches something. But yeah, once you get through and you move the stones out of the way and you're a bit used to it, digs a hole fairly easily. Obviously this very last little bit, it can't get all the dirt out. So going old school, using my hands and pulling it out.
Plum?
Nearly.
So the post's in and Ricky's just cut down one of the other posts ready to make the H-brace.
So that's the H-brace in, perfectly level, which is good. The only issue we've had is that normally you'd put a pin in to join the H-brace to the post. Now, I couldn't really source any of these. When I did the fencing up around the house, I kind of made my own pins. I had a metal rod, which I then cut down, but to be honest, that's a bit time consuming. So all I've done is bought some big chunky nails, and we're going from the outside in. Because I'm doing that and I'm hitting the nail from the outside, where it's come through the post and gone into the H-brace on one of the sides, it's not been able to kind of close the gap. Whereas if you had a screw, it would pull that post in. The nail has kind of pushed the H-brace away a bit. So on one of these, the other one's tight as anything, but on this end, there's a gap, 7 or 8 mil. I think the solution is that I need a longer drill bit to be able to put a longer pilot hole in the center of the H-brace. Then that's going to allow that nail to move through a lot easier. So I'm going to nip out after lunch and go and get one of them. We're going to leave this one here for now and go and get some more holes in.
Midway through making the last hole, one of the screws which holds in the handle on the auger actually flew out. Ricky spotted it just in time and we fixed it, no harm done. But it's not what you want when there's a corkscrew that big hovering around your pelvic region. Ricky's going to put in the next post, ready to put the H-braces in after we've finished lunch. So I'm going to go make us and the dogs some food, and we'll pick you back up after we've been fed. Puppy, Teddy, Johnson dinner. Ah, the magic word. Come on, buddy. That's it. You're so slow. Good boy, Ted.
I'm glad I just loaded up on carbs, because this is weighty. Who would have thought a spool of wire could be so heavy?
Representing Great Britain in World's Strongest Man.
It was a successful trip at the DIY shop. So we've got a nice big long bit now. So now I'm going to get the rest of these H-braces in, and then we can start finishing them off with some wire. We've changed our game plan. We're not going to bother with the wires today. We're going to fill in between all these with the thinner posts and the post hammer. I think we're just going to have to accept that these posts in between are going to be a little bit skew width. We'll do the best we can to get them as level as possible, but these skinnier posts, they're not exactly dead straight. They have little kinks in them, little bends in them. Also, because using the post hammer, it's really hard to have full control. So we'll do the best we can, but we just got to get them in. I've had to glove up because it chafes.
Are there any instructions, tips?
I'm no expert, but just try and keep as much control as possible.
Don't lose control.
Yeah.
Okay. So how high should I go from?
As high as you can get it without it coming off the post.
Okay.
How was that?
That was all right.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it felt okay to me. I don't know how good quality the post is and how straight it is, but for me personally, great experience. You look like you're holding a massive pencil.
Let me know in the comments if you can guess what word I'm writing here. I'm going to try and do it for you, so I'm going to do it in reverse. Oh. The level of concentration there.
that is phase 1A of fencing complete. We've got all of the posts in now across this back wall, and personally I think they look all right. Not perfect, but they look pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this is tough for me because I like things to be plumb and level, and using that post hammer, it's almost impossible to get them level. But you know, you have to remember we're doing agricultural fencing, and unless we're gonna dig every single post hole and get it all level, which will probably take us forever.
We'll never finish that job.
Yeah, it's not really viable.
Our fig tree is coming along so well, and it was only a couple of weeks ago that the leaves and also the figs were absolutely tiny buds, and actually we didn't know if it was a leaf or a fig that was growing. Well, there can be no debating what it is now, because look at these. These figs are growing so quickly, and it's only a few months until August when we can actually start eating them.
It is a hot one today. Just taking a bit of a break in the shade, but now that all those H braces are in, I'm going to get the wires and wire it up. And basically what you do is go from the bottom corner in the corner to the top of the other one. I'll just do it and I'll explain it to you when it's there, because that's much easier. Just stopping to have a quick think, because when I did the fencing up around the house, the wire that I used on the braces was much thinner than this. But this time, because it's a silver sheep fencing, I bought quite a thick wire with the view to this is going to be running all the way along the top and the bottom to give more strength to the fence. And then I just thought, oh well, I'll just use this in the diagonals, the twitch wire they call it on the H brace. But this extra millimetre or so in the thickness of this wire means it's very tough. When I did this on the previous one, I could easily wrap this very tightly round the wire with my hands. That was pretty difficult to get it to do that, and it's still quite roomy inside those spirals. So I'm just weighing up whether I should just carry on and see how it goes, or maybe I should go out and buy some thinner wire. Not sure.
Bearing gifts.
Oh, thank you. What do you think of the wire? Too thick or?
It's pretty robust. It looks like some sort of suspension bridge.
Okay, so the second one's done. It was definitely a little bit quicker, but it's still really slow. That wire is not the right thing for doing the twitch wires, so I've made the decision. I'm gonna head back up, we've actually got a thinner green plastic, well, metal covered in plastic wire that I use for the fencing up around the house. So it's not gonna quite match with the rest of the fencing, but it's gonna be behind the fence. I'm gonna use that because otherwise I'm gonna have to stop for the day, which I don't really wanna do. And if I just go and get this thinner wire now, I could probably blast out all of the twitch wires that I need to today. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then next time I'm at the shop, I can grab a thinner silver wire so it can match with the rest of it. Well, that was a piece of cake in comparison. It's almost laughable how much easier it was. Also, the finish you just get is so much better. When I was doing this thicker wire, you can see here that it's quite loose around, and then when it wraps around this, the tensioner, it's pretty loose. It's really hard. Whereas on this other one, you know, it's perfect. You can make it look really nice and professional. So I just remembered, I forgot that I said to you once I'd done it, I'd explain to you why we're doing these H braces. So I'll just walk you through how it works quickly. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can actually see the wire, but the wire is running from this bottom corner on the corner post up to in line with this H brace. And it's the same here. Another one going from the bottom there, running up diagonal to there and fixed on this side. And basically, because the wire fence is going to be tied to this post, and then it's going to be tensioned off that way and off this way. What these H braces and the wire do is they basically make a triangle, and with that triangle comes lots of strength. So if you imagine the fence is tied here and the tension is being pulled that way, that's going to want to pull this post out this way in the same direction as the fence. So the load is going to go from this post, get pushed through this H brace into this post, then this post is going to want to move that way, but because you have the wire tied here and tied down to the bottom here where the ground is, that can't go there because it's being pulled back to the floor. So it's a really simple way, but it keeps things really strong and solid. So I'm just finishing up the last wire on these H braces, whizzed through the rest of them, which is really good news. And I just wanted to show you this little trick that I learned. It's so simple, this little hack, but it's really effective. I want to shout out to the YouTuber who I learned it from. It's this guy called Farmer Tim. His exact channel name I forget now, but I'll put it up on the screen, and I'll put a link to his channel in the description as well. His channel is amazing, I have found, for all things kind of agricultural fencing. It's basically farm tips, but yeah, it's to do with how you finish off the wire on the end of kind of anything really. Actually, it can be if you're doing an end knot or if you're doing something like this. So what you do, you've obviously here, I've doubled back the piece of wire. With this piece of wire, I want to finish it off like I did on the other ones and wrap it round. So I'm going to bend this kind of in an L, put it over the top, bend it back round towards me, and then this is the trick that he taught me. So with this bit you've got left over, you bend this at the very end, make a little 90-degree bend, and it basically just acts as a crank. So now I can just grab that little handle, hopefully you can see this on the camera, and just use that as a little crank, and it's so effective. You can get it so tight, so neat, and I love things like this. Just so simple but really effective, and I would never have thought of doing that by myself. And then you just chop the end off and voila, looks lovely and professional. So cheers, Tim. Well guys, we couldn't quite stand walking by and looking at that shambles of a shade situation, let's call it, every day. Got more shade cloth here. We're going back to rectify it. Are you looking forward to taking this down?
So much. It's an absolute embarrassment. I'm just going to cut off a little bit off the top of the teepee because it's a bit too pokey on the shade cloth, so I don't want it to pierce through the next one.
So I plan to make sure that version 2 is the new and improved model and the final model. We're going to keep it simple. So one piece of shade cloth that's going to cover the whole area. We're not going to put any poles in the ground. There are 4 olive trees that sit pretty much square in this area, so we're just going to tie it to them instead. We're also going to tie the knots that fix the rope to the shade cloth on the ground, because last time we did it in situ and it was just pulling all over the place and it was awkward. And by doing it this way, it's going to keep the whole thing a bit higher, so hopefully we should just be able to squeeze underneath it, and you know, maybe I'll have to duck a bit to water, but it's going to be held by the trees and then propped up like a tent. However it turns out, I'm sure it's not going to be any worse than the first attempt we tried.
such an improvement. I'm not deluding myself when I say this, because I know it's not the prettiest still, but it is such an improvement, and at least we can stand up in here, because you're 6'2". That's no mean feat.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not happy with this at all. Like, I'm a little bit embarrassed to be putting this sort of stuff out on the internet. I just don't like bodge jobs. And this feels like a big bodge. I just like it when you try and do something properly in the first place.
The main thing though is that the plants will definitely grow a lot better under here. Already, even with the shantytown version, things were growing much more quickly, things looked a lot healthier. So yeah, just grin and bear it, and maybe there will be like another slight tweak somewhere down the line.
Yeah, to be honest, we're too strapped for time to do anything about it at the moment. I can hear the dogs causing an absolute riot in the background, so better go and sort them out.